We're not going to be played, okay? We're going to hopefully make a deal. If we don't, that's fine. The United States in the past was played like a fiddle, money going in and nobody knew what was happening. We will, I think, come up with a solution. And if we don't, we leave the room with great respect. We leave the room and we just keep it going. This isn't like past administrations. We don't play games.
Joining us now, Fox News contributor, retired Lieutenant Colonel Allen West, former Treasury Department intelligence analyst Morgan Ortagus, and the author of Reaper, former Brigadier General Tony Tata. All right, Allen, I am going to start with you. I understand that you were actually in the demilitarized zone for a period of time. What is your take on the fact that Kim Jong-un has actually met with the President Moon of South Korea and actually stepped over that demilitarized zone?
It was good to be with you, Judge. And in 1995, I was stationed there with the 2nd Infantry Division. And I remember as a senior officer seeing the tunnels that the North Koreans had dug to try to infiltrate into South Korea. Today was a historical moment, but we must understand we have to keep the pressure on. And Kim Jong-un has proven to be a person that you cannot trust. So we have to have the systems and the sanctions in place. We have to be able to verify anything that he says he is going to do. Because history will teach us. Neville Chamberlain sat down with Adolf Hitler back in 1938, signed the Munich Accords, and then, of course, later on, Adolf Hitler said it was just a piece of paper.
And Morgan, you know, there are those who say that we've reached a point now that is only due to President Trump, and he referenced it a few minutes ago. He said there was a lot of name calling and a few other things several months back, you know, between Rocket Man and all the other back and forth. But that really did lead or create the foundation for this meeting between President Moon and Kim Jong-un. Would you agree?
Absolutely, Judge. I think that the president deserves a ton of credit for what happened today, and you're even seeing some of his biggest critics give him credit as well. The South Korean president went out of his way to say that the policies that the president has pursued is what has led towards today. I would say, though, that when you look at what the general just said, we view everything with skepticism when it comes to Kim Jong-un. But today we saw for the first time the North Korean leader step on his South Korean soil. We've never seen that before. And it's not just the rhetoric. The rhetoric is important. It's the fact that there is a credible threat of force behind the rhetoric. And I would add, Judge, that the historic sanctions that Nikki Haley and the Trump administration pursued at the UN deserve a lot of credit, because what happened was that we caused pain in his pocket where it hurts the most. So clearly, one of the reasons he's coming to the table is because of this whole of government approach. You have an American president who the world believes will take action. You have historic sanctions. And I would add, look at what's happening with the Chinese. Look, the president is sending his top economic team next year to China, and the Chinese were a part of this because this is a comprehensive strategy in East Asia.
General Tata, let's talk about the military component, where the president has indicated that he has no reluctance whatsoever to use his military option and force to back up, and he's also not afraid to walk away if he doesn't get what he wants from Kim Jong-un.
Well, Judge, I think the military component here is, it's peace through strength, right? We have 28,000 troops on the Korean Peninsula, and we've got, the Air Force in Guam, and we've got, we've had 3 carrier strike groups in the Sea of Japan surrounding the Korean Peninsula with all of the air power that comes along with that, and Tomahawks and nuclear missiles that can be launched. So there's a credible threat from us to North Korea that has been behind the other elements of national power that the president has artfully synchronized here, as we've talked before on your show, with diplomacy, information, economic, all those elements of power. And what you're seeing now is, success has 1,000 fathers and failures an orphan. And so, the media is looking for somebody to dilute the praise away from the president for doing all of these things. And so, they choose Kim Jong-un's sister, who was at the Olympics, and she may have gone back and talked to her brother and said, hey, it's pretty nice down there. They have food. You might want to go check it out. But, it's a credible threat of military force. And President Trump is synchronizing that. that in a very good way that has led to this point, and President Trump and his team deserve the credit. Mike Pompeo deserves a lot of credit as well as Ambassador Haley.
Okay, and so, Alan, I'm going to go back to you. You know, looking at Kim Jong-un with President Moon, I mean, you have to, this is a guy who was killing us 6 months ago. He was standing there with all of, you know, his toys of war. And, you know, did he have a lobotomy? I mean, what got to this guy that everything about him has changed? His body language has changed. Were the economic sanctions that severe? And is someone in his country telling him, hey, you better make this right or you're going?
Well, I think it is, as General Tater just said, when you have a credible military threat and a deterrent, that backs up your foreign policy. Just remember, it was 2010 when the North Koreans sunk a South Korean naval vessel, killing 46 of their sailors and wounding another 56. And then later on in that year, November 2010, there was the North Korean artillery bombardment of a South Korean island. And we said nothing, we did nothing. As a matter of fact, we continued to appease and negotiate. So for the first time, we have an American president that has stood with resolve and resiliency. But also let us remember that Kim Jong-un is responsible for the death of an American citizen, Otto Warmbier, and there are 3 American citizens still being held, as well as Japanese citizens. So I understand him stepping across into South Korea, but this is a person that has a very dark past and has a very evil intentions, and we cannot put that aside. So we have to still proceed with caution.
And General Tater, I mean, the family has sued the North Korean government of Otto Warmbier. How is that going to impact what is going on? And suing them, does that have any chance of resolution in any way?
Well, you know, Judge, I think that it's a holistic approach as we go into these negotiations to try to get, you know, as President Trump called it today, this is for the world. And so we can scale from, you know, a very important microcosmic issue all the way up to what we have to do for the world. And a denuclearized peninsula, Korean Peninsula, is so key to the world. And I think the president and his team are going to achieve that. And I believe that they're going to achieve all the other goals as well, one of which is what you mentioned.
And Morgan, very quickly, I mean, you know, the idea of the large armies that are actually on that that border between North and South Korea, the fact that they might be able to come home is certainly something to look forward to.
It certainly is. But I would echo what the gentleman just said, that we need to lay out specific steps for denuclearization. What does it look like? How do we verify it? We can't, and this administration won't do this, but we can't make the same mistakes the Obama administration did, where they relieved sanctions on Iran for a bunch of empty promises that weren't fulfilled. I know this administration won't do that, and that's why we need to really verify that this is going to happen.
Well, you know what? I think all of us would agree that the Donald Trump administration is not going to put together any deal without real verification. Anyway, Alan, Morgan, and General Tater, thanks so much for being with us.